All right. Good morning, solopreneurs. Good morning, everybody in the community. It is Friday, December 13th. So this is the time of the year where we start to step out of the old year and begin to transition into the new year. So a lot of what we're doing is a reflection exercise on things that have happened this year, looking at things from all different levels and different angles. Part of what we want to do is capture everything that we did that was super fantastic. And then I want you to celebrate every single thing that was super fantastic. We also want to capture some of those things that maybe weren't so great. Um, Figure out what lessons we could learn from those things that didn't go quite the way that we had planned them to go. So today, I want to go a little step further past that time of, okay, you've now reviewed everything, you've made your list of things that were really great, you've made your list of things that maybe weren't so great, things you want to change for the new year, things you want to add in for the new year. And this is the point where sometimes we get stuck. I know that as I go through these exercises, it's super easy for me to get stuck when I am reviewing the things that didn't go so well or the things that I really wanted to get done that I didn't have either the chance to or they didn't work out the way that I wanted them to. So this year, as I went over my goal list, I thought, gee, this was a super fantastic year for me. I know I've mentioned this before. It's such a pivotal year. I did a lot of growing, a lot of expanding, tons of collaboration, and I really took the time and put the effort in to do these reviews on a monthly basis so that I would keep my focus. I knew where I was going as I moved in to that next month, fixing things along the way, tweaking things, changing things. Maybe, some of the things that I had set out with an intention to do changed along the way. So I did a lot of changing and growing, and that's really what this business entrepreneurial journey is all about. We're not only growing our businesses, we're growing ourselves as well. So the three things that I wanted to talk about today really are things that as you have completed this review and you're looking at your list of, okay, these things were super great, these things not so great, and I want to change them or I just want to get rid of some of them. I want to try some new things. This is a great time to start to challenge yourself. And a great time of year to challenge yourself as well, because December is full of anytime really, from Thanksgiving through the end of the year. We're happy. We tend to be happy. We tend to be in a better mood. We tend to be looking forward to this new year and all the possibilities that it holds. And sometimes that can be super scary. And it can come to the point where we start to hold ourselves back. So I want to challenge you. The first thing I wanted to talk about was thinking about your dream or your problem and figuring out the one thing that is stopping you from exploring and kind of diving into that a little bit and figuring out why is it stopping you? What is that one thing that you want to accomplish and you've made your list and you've checked it twice and now you're like, that's on my list, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to accomplish it in the new year. I tried it this year and it didn't work out so well. Or it was on my list for this year, but I didn't get to it. So that's part of not only when we're looking back and trying to determine why something was on our list that we weren't able to accomplish, figuring out, pinpointing why that thing, is it so important? Is it something that we just heard from someone else we should be doing? There's so much noise, outside noise, and people that are very well-intentioned saying, well, in order to do this, you really need to do X, Y, and Z. And maybe you don't need to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe you have a different plan and a different way of doing it. So you shouldn't allow all those other people to stop you from still moving forward with it. So determine what the one thing on your list is that you really want to make sure that you get done in 2020. And then just do a brainstorming session and figure out underneath, just write whatever comes to mind, what are the things that could possibly stop me from accomplishing this one particular goal. This is the part where, and it's super hard for me. It's super hard because if you didn't catch my live interview with Travis earlier this week on my business page, we talked a lot about overcoming perfection. And he's a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist. We really related to this whole perfectionist piece of our lives. And we kind of did a deeper dive into that. And it's a constant reminder to myself that I need to accept progress over perfection. So when I'm looking back and doing these reviews and saying at the end of a particular month, well, I didn't get to A, B, C, D, but I'm putting my focus in the wrong spot. I should be focusing on the things that I did accomplish. I accomplished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every single small step counts. And one positive step in the right direction is what keeps that momentum going. That's what helps us with our mindset. And that's what helps us say, okay, I can face this next month with this renewed energy. And I know what I didn't do the previous month that I'm going to change for this month. I really liked 75% of what I did. The other 25% I can improve upon. So I think, especially for me, letting go of that perfectionist part in order to recognize the progress and in order to be able to continue to move on is a super important piece to remember. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is a little bit of the mindset. And again, this is something that I've talked about a lot, and I do daily affirmations almost every day. I can't say I'm 100% wonderful with this, but I'm pretty good at reminding myself, hey, it's time for affirmations. And you've heard the story. I mean, when I was living at my daughter's house and I would do the affirmations out loud to myself in the bathroom mirror, here we were in this community bathroom. I'd leave the door open. I'm brushing my teeth. The kids are running in and out, all my grandkids. And they were like, Grandma, what are you doing? I'm like, are you talking to yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I am talking to myself. I'm giving myself a pep talk. I'm telling myself how wonderful I am and what a great day this is because I'm putting myself in the right mindset. Again, another area to challenge yourself and especially to challenge myself on going into 2020 to improve upon so that I can get that percentage higher than, and I want 20 and say, look, this percentage wasn't almost, it was pretty darn high. I don't want to miss out on that. And not just doing it first thing in the morning, but anytime throughout the day. And that's the piece that I have to remember because I can start my day off on a really good high note. And then 3/4 of the way through the day, I notice I'm slowly sliding downhill and I have to stop and question myself and give myself another pep talk. Sometimes the pep talk works and I'm back at it, no problem. Other times I'm realizing that it's just simply not going to happen in that time. I just can't do it in that time. I'm going to have to put that on the list and face it again tomorrow. And that's okay. Learning to live with how you are in the present moment is perfectly okay. So I have a few of those turning your self-doubt, which a lot of this stuff is. At the end of the year, when we're making plans for the new year, the reason why the things are still on our list and the things that we are so excited about now, you want to carry that momentum over into the new year. And the greatest way to do that is to try to stamp out as much of the self-doubt as you possibly can. So I'm challenging you to reframe some of those things. And these are some of the things that I find myself saying or thinking, I should say. So I find myself thinking about this, and this is when I say, okay, stop, reframe, and let's carry on. Let's see how I feel after I've reframed it. So instead of saying something like, I'm not good with money, you can say, I'm not good with money yet. See the difference? Yet. I don't know the first thing about writing, copywriting, writing copy. I don't know the first thing about it. Well, I don't know about copywriting yet. See, these are all skills that you can learn along the way. You can learn these money skills. We've got a ton of financial people in this group. So if there's something in the financial field that just isn't right with you, whether it's you just don't have a budget, you haven't paid attention to your bookkeeping, you're not really sure about this whole tax thing you're supposed to be doing, you just reach out to the people in this group. That's what we're here for. The same thing with copywriting. We have a ton of copywriters in here. And I'm sure you have these people in other groups and other circles in your life as well. You simply sometimes have to make these lists for yourself and say, in 2020, I am going to improve upon my copywriting skills. I'm going to learn more about copywriting. These are all things that are definitely places you can learn. We're not born with all these skills. People are not just boop, out of the womb and we know everything there is to know about everything. It doesn't happen that way. That's why people go to school. That's why people take courses. That's why we attend workshops. We're learning new skills and new techniques. Reframing something about no one's ever done it that way. You probably tell yourself this a lot. I tell myself this a lot. This is my thought. No one's ever done it that way. I don't see anybody else doing it this way. Well, nobody's done it that way yet. Or I'm perfectly fine with the way that I'm doing it. It feels right to me. And that's what you have to just start, that reframing piece of it. So that's the other part of the challenge. The first thing is to challenge yourself, like I said, with figuring out what that dream is, what that goal is that you have on your list, and what's stopping you making a list. So I challenge you to make a list of all the things that could stop you from one of your ultimate goals. Just write them all out, brainstorm them out, and then we can go back over that list and figure out ways around it. That's the strategic part. The other way, the mindset, just reframing the negative into a positive. And again, it just takes that moment, that intention of stopping yourself from what you're doing and saying, okay, put the brakes on. It's time for me to reframe this. If you continually tell yourself, okay, 2019 was not the year for me. I didn't hit most of my goals. I didn't make the money I thought. I didn't get the visibility I wanted. I'm not where I thought I was going to be. You can't go into 2020 thinking that, because you're not starting on the right foot. So I want you to grab a piece of paper, and what I want you to do is think about that first step that we talked about. Now I want you to write down 5 things, just 5 things, 5 steps that you can take that are going to bring you closer to that ultimate goal. Then we're going to figure out where those 5 steps can fit in to your 2020 plan. It's all about chunking it up, breaking it up into those smaller chunks, those smaller pieces, and being able to focus on what the small piece is rather than looking at it as a whole and getting discouraged. And that's really what it comes down to, and getting discouraged and saying, okay, I have this huge goal. This year I really wanted to, break 6 figures, and I did not make that. How am I going to make that happen in 2020? Well, I've got this goal right here. So now let's figure out 5 of the main steps that you can take, even 4 of the main steps you can take. There's 4 quarters coming up. So you can take those 4 steps and you can make them into quarterly steps. So they're sub-goals. And then from that, you can figure out what you're going to focus on in month 1, 2, 3, reach the sub-goal. Month 4, 5, 6, reach the next sub-goal. By the end of the year, you're checking off another goal from your list. And that's how I do it. That's why I recommend to everybody. It's great to have a list of goals, a huge list of goals. You can write out as many goals as you want, and assigning them that smart and making sure that the timeline is doable. We can't have 100 goals for the entire year and expect to meet them all. It doesn't work that way. But you can chunk them up by year. By year 1, I want this. By the end of year 2, I want this. This is what the challenge is. It's fun. It's actually a really fun challenge to keep us on our toes and to keep us focused on what our ultimate life goals are. It's not all about the business. Everybody knows that. It's where you are in your life and fixing those goals that you may not be able to reach some of those top goals within a 1, 2, 3, 5-year time frame. But think about it down the road. Think about it 7 years in, 8 years in, 10 years in. Where are you going to be, and what have you accomplished? What steps to bring you closer to the goal? So I know I've talked about this before, but it's a really great example. My husband and I decided we were going to move to South Carolina, and it was our ultimate dream goal, is that we were going to leave Connecticut, move to South Carolina. We had the same vision for ourselves, but we knew that it wasn't going to happen overnight. We knew it wasn't going to happen in a week, a month, or even a year. It takes time. It takes time to finish up all those projects in life that you're working on. It takes time to fix your mindset so that, it was easier, I think, for him than for me to get to that place because, being in the military, he's moved all over his whole life. I only knew Connecticut. So getting myself in that frame of mind took me a while. It left behind what I knew so well. It left behind the job that I had. It left behind my family. It left behind my friends. I knew all of that, but the pros outweighed the cons. So not everything is always roses, or you have to look at it like, yes, it's roses, but roses have thorns kind of thing. So I listed out the pros and cons, and we said, okay, can we manage to do this in 3 years? That's pushing it. Let's say 5. Gives us time to wrap up what we need to wrap up. It gives us time to plan for the future. It gives us time to sell our home, find a new place to live, save the money we needed, So we put ourselves on the 5-year plan and we reached it in year 5. To me, that's phenomenal because it was a big goal, a huge goal, and we reached it. But we didn't reach it easy. It wasn't an overnight fix. And none of this, even in the business world, is an overnight fix. You're going to hear time and time again, people, especially when you're in this lovely social media world of, my first month in business, I made $10,000. Well, guess what? That is such a small percentage of people that do something like that. Do not be discouraged by that. It may take you a while. It depends on how much time, how much effort, what your mindset is, if you have your goals mapped out, if you've got the steps to reach the goals mapped out, if you have accountability. I mean, there's so many factors that go into that. It's just discouraging if you keep listening to all that outside noise. I always say, focus on what means the most to you and go for it. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? You've got the mapped out plan. You don't have a mapped out plan yet? That's okay. There's still plenty of time to get one. What you need to at least have mapped out is what are you going to do in the next 30 days? That's the most important piece. Then we can fill in from there. So that's what I wanted to come in here and talk about today, because I know that December is a super busy time of year for everybody. And again, I mean, it can be such an upbeat, positive time if you let it. And riding on that wave of momentum into the next year is going to really help you get it kickstarted. We want to take that momentum and that kickstart, the way you feel when you hit the ground running on January 2nd, and we want to keep that alive until December 31st of the following year. We want to just keep riding that wave. But you need to be strategic. You need to be consistent. You need to know what you want.